alignment between marketing and sales is really one of these issues that I see cropping up over and over and over in LinkedIn conversations, in the content marketing world. And that's why I'm really excited to be here today with Gillian Selby, who's the founder of Gunn McQueen. They're based in Calgary, and really they help train teams and not just your salespeople, on these critical elements of understanding how to sell that we really need to know to be successful in today's B2B marketing landscape. So thank you for being here today, Gillian.
My pleasure.
Now, obviously, I think it's always best really to give everyone kind of the lay of the land in your own words. So can you just tell us a little bit about what you do, about your company, and how you help people?
Sure. So I have been in the sales arena probably for close to 25 years, and I've been on all sides of it. I come from a corporate furniture's background. So if you go into an office building, that's where I used to live. And I've been on both the billion-dollar manufacturer side as a sales rep and an account manager, and also on the product marketing teams. And I've also been on the small deployment groups when you're a small business, when you're an agency, when you're working in partnerships. So I've seen all sides of it. And when I left my last position as a global business director, I realized that a few things were a little bit different when I went out to talk with my clients. And that was on the sales side, we had an opportunity that wasn't addressed well. And that was that every single person in most of my small businesses would touch the client, but we didn't teach them the value of that interaction, and we didn't tap into the value of that interaction. And that's probably because sales is viewed upon as being somewhat, people go, oh, I'm in sales, or the salesperson is calling. But the reality is all of our businesses are about selling, whatever is a service or a product. It's moving that through our own companies and generating revenue that keeps us afloat. And it's very complex now, and a lot of people touch it, but we're not teaching people how to do that well. So when I worked for these billion-dollar companies, we have an immense amount of training on how to sell, but there aren't that many billion-dollar companies. So I wanted to take everything that I learned and help all of my smaller companies increase their revenue by 50% for their top line revenue growth by helping teach people who are not salespeople understand the sales process and how they can contribute. So that's my goal.
Yeah, I love that. And it's so important because as a business owner myself, I see I got into what I do because I'm a writer, and then you end up needing this sales skill set. And I think even for like you were saying, large enterprise as well, there's a set of different challenges, but it's like, how do you reach a common understanding around your sales goals?
So big.
Yeah. And the larger and more complex our marketing and our sales functions get with the bigger companies, there's issues such as, I know we were talking before this call about the one-way flow of information and how that becomes such a problem. So can you talk a little bit about, either that or some of the other challenges that you see when marketing and sales are kind of butting heads, or maybe just not communicating at all?
I think too, a key thing here is you'll often see someone with the title sales and marketing. I've had that title. I am the head of sales and marketing. And they're two such disparate roles that rely upon each other. And for some reason, if you're going to say who's going to fight, it's going to be sales and accounting or sales and marketing. Because both of them are telling each other what to do instead of sitting down and saying, what do we do together? And in my past, I'll give you an example of how it goes awry, and then when sales goes rogue, and then marketing pulls their hair out. And sales goes rogue all the time, and there's a number of reasons for it, but one of it is that one-way flow of information, and in both ways, right? It's almost like two ships in the night passing each other, and instead of stopping, turning on the lights, going, we're over here, it's like, oh, we're going to get this done. When I lived in New York working in sales, we would get the holiday promotions that came out. And for the company was based out here in the West, it would send everything out, and it was marvelous, except it was all about Santa Claus. And in New York, I had such a diverse population that instead of being able to wish someone happy holidays, I had to send off a Christmas tree. So we just didn't use the marketing. It was a vast expense. All of these Christmas cards with Santa would come out. We would not send them out. Marketing would pull their hair out and go, those guys in New York are trouble and they don't listen. But we didn't sit down, we would just complain. We would just throw the stuff away. And we didn't sit down and say, hey guys, could we come up with a different alternate? Because our market is not receptive to this. And in fact, it could offend someone. Not say that there's anything wrong with Christmas or holiday, but you want to be appropriate with who you talk to. Apologies about the phone.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, I totally agree. I love the analogy of ships in the night. And it's almost like you're trying to avoid one another so that everyone is so busy, head down, needing to work towards their goals. But it's really about like taking it up that level and having the conversation. Well, what are our goals, and are they actually the same? And in a lot of cases they are, but we're trying to reach them in different ways. Yeah,
Now from a sales perspective too, because there's a deep love of going rogue, and we have, and to our detriment, we have supported the beg for forgiveness and ask for permission mentality in sales of, this is go out and get it, do whatever it needs to be done, and then apologize later. And I think from a sales perspective, this has been so damaging from every side of it, because it has a deep lack of respect for the marketing efforts that go on. It has a deep lack of respect for the rest of the company. And it's completely based upon not communicating. In other words, don't tell anyone what you're going to do, because you probably shouldn't. Instead of approaching someone to say, this won't work, I need a hand. This is why I'm going, or I'd like to go this direction. Because sometimes when you're going rogue, what you're going to be doing is bad. Literally, when you have to beg forgiveness, that implies that you're doing something wrong. So we've created sort of cultures of that don't work together. We've supported it, we've enhanced it, we've been taught sales teams, they don't know what they're doing. Just they'll craft a message, take what they create, and then make it your own. Not great.
Yeah, it's a good point, because I think like from the marketing side of it, it's really about how can marketers create content that sales will actually use. Mm-hmm. But then of course, also there does need to be that willingness. And I think from both sides, the willingness for marketing to say, we understand that you're the ones talking to the buyers, and let's have a conversation so that we can set you up with content assets, whether that's a case study, that you're actually going to use, or whatever it may be. But it is important to get there for sure.
That would be great. When I look at all the different sales tools that in my past different companies that marketing creates, some of them are absolutely amazing. And there's no way that marketing can create something that works for everybody. Like there's absolutely no way. If I'm in Saskatoon and my primary market would be small towns, what I need for a small town buyer would be dramatically different from the entertainment industry in Atlanta. You can't craft the same minutiae, but you can create an overarching theme that is applicable to all. I do think there's an 80-20 rule. 80% of what you create will be generic enough that will show your brand, will carry that same strong message. That final 20% might have to be tweaked to massage it, but that conversation should be had. How do we do this? What can we not touch that is so intrinsic to the brand of the company that you can't rewrite this? This is literally our value statement. You can't go out and say, here's a new mission statement because I think it sounds better for my clients. That sort of communication would be incredibly valuable for both teams to understand where you can go rogue with it and where you can't.
Yeah, I think that's key. And I think, like you said, the larger an organization is, and the more markets they serve, certainly that is going to be an issue. And there are always going to be those pillar pieces of content. And then there's always going to be those more specific use cases that hopefully you can drill down and actually leverage to close deals for sure. Now, I want to kind of switch gears. Well, we're not really switching gears too much, but I want to highlight the work that you do and really talk about training as a solution. Like we've touched on, obviously, I think there are many issues that we could touch on. We've touched on, a couple of things. How can training, and especially bringing that understanding of sales to people who don't normally have that background, how can training work to kind of solve some of the issues and close some of the gaps that we're talking about?
my experience with training as a salesperson, I would say I received phenomenal training at the worst time. And by that, I mean, I received it once I was a success. So I had proven my chops. I hadn't gone under. A lot of salespeople don't last past 2 years. They burn out. They can't get enough of a book of business that they can keep going. So you wait until, we drop someone in the hot water and say, well, can they get out? Can they stay above it? Okay, we should train them. But in that time, you develop your own rogue habits, if you will. If you want to know where people start going awry, going, I don't quite know what I'm doing. This seemed to work. I should do that. So once I got amazing training, I have been like going, if I'd only known, I could have done so much better earlier. So one of the things is training early. But the next part is, again, going back to my last point, our business relationships are so utterly complex now. Like when I sell a single item, if it's a single commodity piece, and the example I use for a lot of people, let's say, is a basketball. I'm selling that basketball. I might go to the gym teacher to say, you need 100 of these. That was great 10 years ago. Here's the cost. Please sign off on it. Wonderful. Now for that same piece, I might have the janitorial team coming in to see how they mark up the floor. I might have the school board coming in going, hold on, we want to buy them for someone else. Can we get another better price if we buy larger quantities? I might have the Parent Teachers Association coming in going, are they ones that match what we want our school to match because of the values behind the company? Have they done the best practices? So I'm suddenly touching lots of different things. So as a salesperson, I might be able to talk to everyone. But the reality is my project manager might be talking to their project manager. My front of line service or my customer service team will be talking to a different person. And my business owner might be talking to their lead. So suddenly we have one person who has that designation of what sales is, your account manager. But everyone in the company is talking to someone else to help get this through. So that's where an understanding of how do we sell, how do you do it with respect? How do you do it so it takes away the mystery of what on earth am I doing? Back to your point of, I started as a writer and suddenly have to figure out, how do I do this? Like, this is so out of my comfort zone. We're asking people that is out of their comfort zone. But what we don't want to do is say, sales is so complex, you need to take 8 months to figure it out, and then you're going to be a salesperson. You don't want to be a salesperson. You're a writer. You have to sell, but your key thing is how to be a writer. So in my mind, the training is more of a, how do we expose people to get a general understanding to help further the company's overall cause and support it without losing sight of what their real job is. My accountants don't want to be salespeople, but they do want to understand how to help. No one at any company has ever said, I don't want us to succeed. Like, if the company succeeds, they succeed. So that's my goal, is to say, listen, you should be training early. If you identify someone as a wonderful salesperson, get them even more training, a lot of training. But for everyone else who touches the client, they need to understand that they have an effect on how well that bottom line does. And it's critical.
Yeah, I think that's huge. And like you said, B2B sales and marketing, it's so complex. There are so many decision makers involved. People are gathering so much information before they ever speak to a rep at a company, with
so critical.
Yeah, like all of the content we're producing nowadays, the buyers are doing their research that way and then kind of only speaking to someone towards the end. And so, and again, like if there is, with the rise of sort of conversational marketing tactics like the live chat and all those things, that might not be a salesperson running that might be a community manager, that could be a marketing coordinator. So just like you said, thinking about, if you touch the client, you are supporting the sales function, and you do need that training, and you need to be equipped.
Actually, you just touched upon something really fascinating. And that is, we know most clients do research someone before they call. In fact, they're astonishingly well informed. So if they've already figured out, let's say on average, 70% of their decision, the pieces they need to make, that content marketing piece is so critical now. And, before going rogue, well, you can go rogue all you want. If you haven't embraced or matched that marketing story that they've already been exposed to for 70 or at least 2/3 of their decision, you're going to lose that sale. because suddenly it's going, you're not matching to what your company said. And now I don't trust you. And people buy from people that they like, value, and trust. And you can be likable, but if you immediately blow a hole right through that marketing story that has been carefully crafted, but doesn't align with what the market does, I can't stress how important it is now for sales and marketing to sit down and go, we need to figure this out. Because before, 10 years ago, I would come in and give you the marketing story. I would determine what you saw. I would determine which parts I wanted you to be aware of. I don't have that privilege anymore. Mm-hmm. I think that's a good thing. It helps me with my job. I'm not beholden to figure all of it out, but I am responsible now to not go rogue.
Yeah, I love that, kind of on the both sides, right? It's about the salespeople embracing that marketing story, that marketing message, and hopefully having also had the chance to provide input to that, right? Like, it's not
exactly.
just,
that's an ideal world.
Yeah,
it's a heart moment. Like, come on.
Yeah.
I think it will come. I hope it will come. I think too, smaller companies have a lot more flexibility to make that happen faster.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And again, like, the more you can bring sort of everybody on board, having ownership in that vision and getting them the training and the resources they need to be able to do that. I agree. And I mean, obviously at larger enterprises, sometimes things can be sort of tied up with red tape or whatever. But I agree with you that it's like the ideal state, and that marketing and sales are aware, where people are aware that they need to collaborate more cohesively. And I think that we will get there. I do agree with you, but it's knowing that we can access resources like this, it is one big thing too. And kind of on that note, I'd love if you could share, anything else that comes to mind on this conversation, but of course, before we wrap up, how people can get in touch with you, and kind of what you have coming up, anything that you want to share with people.
Oh, that's a lovely idea. Let's talk about me. I like it.
Yes, let's do that.
All right. So my company is called Gunn McQueen. You can find me at gunnmcqueen.com. So that's GUNNMCQUEEN.com. I just finished a series of webinars on how to network, which was coming up for the new year. I have a course starting in the next 2 weeks, and this is what I do offer. I offer 2 courses. The first one is for individuals who are in charge of revenue activities. Welcome to suddenly being in charge of having to figure out how to keep clients. We work our way up, and you're promoted into something of which there's no training available, but you're highly accountable for it. And that's very stressful for a lot of people. So that's what that is it's an 8-week course to run you through. Here's everything that you need to know to get comfortable with it. My next series, though, is helping companies train 4 to 5 people, as well as their entire company, on the effect that they have. Everything from how you talk to a client in general manners, how you run accounts, everything, to say, here's your boot camp. Because you need to know this, but we're going to do it in a way that is good for adult learners, is a few hours a week, and is not very long term. Again, is giving you the tools to run when everyone's been sort of charging off in different directions. So those are the 2 pieces that I have. Again, the first course starts in 2 weeks. The other one is booked upon your company's timeline. So since it's for your own company. But that's what I do. And also join my email list, because I send out a lot of tips and tricks. Right now on LinkedIn and my blog and email, we're talking about how to prepare for the next year, because I do it differently than a lot of other people do. And it's a lot about figuring out, where are you before you even start to sell? The selling piece is your last piece. If you don't have everything else in place, you're sort of spinning your wheels and you won't close. So I'm giving you all the tips and tricks now to figure out how to get there.
Yeah, love those resources. Okay, everybody. So you know how to connect with Gillian, and like she mentioned, lots of fantastic courses, as well as resources that you can read at your own time coming up and available for you. So thank you so much for being on today, Gillian. Was there anything else that you wanted to say before we close out?
I just want to thank you, because I'm tired of the stressors between sales and marketing, because everyone is aligned. And I think what you brought here today was just such a really good way of sort of outlining everyone has the same goal. And let's figure out, instead of pitting ourselves against each other, which is just silly and exhausting, let's figure out how to do it together, because content marketing is utterly critical to the sales success. And the salesperson can't do it as effectively as your team can. And I just wanted to thank you. And as well to everyone I know, this is where I go. So thank you, Scribe.
Thank you so much. That's very kind. Yeah, I'm all about kind of trying to foster that collaboration, and it's so valuable to have your perspective from the sales side. So I really do appreciate you coming on today. And
thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for watching, everyone. And we will have some more content coming to you this year, of course, to help you, educate your own teams, further your own marketing goals, and really create excellent content in 2022. So thank you and take care.
Awesome.
Bye-bye.